If you want to make any forms of lasting change in your life, whether it's making more money, having better relationships, becoming healthier, you've really got to transform your identity. Identity is the key aspect of changing behavior. And if you're trying to change behavior without changing identity, that's basically willpower. Willpower is essentially trying to compete against your identity. You want to do one thing and you see yourself a certain way. You may see yourself as an addict and you're trying to grit your teeth and go against yourself. And actually, if you study addiction, willpower is almost the opposite way that you would transform an addiction. So in this video, I'm actually going to share some slides. I'm going to show some pictures and I'm going to break down what identity is, how it works, and how you can ultimately transform it. The definition of identity is what you're most committed to. It's how you define yourself. It's how you see yourself. It's the beliefs you strongly believe in. And so your identity is, to the core, what you're committed to as a person. It's what you're committed to in terms of what you believe. It's what you're committed to in terms of what you prioritize. It's what you're committed to in terms of how you see and define yourself. And this brings up a really important shift that's occurred in psychology. So for over 100 years, the core belief in psychology was that human beings are driven by their past. And that view has been replaced in modern times in the last 15, 20 years by research that shows that actually it's not your past that's driving you. It's actually your future that you're most committed to. We all have a future that we see for ourselves, that we expect for ourselves. Actually, in neuroscience, our brain is actually considered a prediction machine. Our brain forms memories and we have experiences for the sake of predicting our future. So as you're watching this video, actually, your brain is automatically making predictions about where this video is going or how the day is going to go. You're always making predictions. And so our behavior is driven by our predictions of the future, but also ourself, our life. We're actually pulled forward by whatever future you are most committed to. Commitment is a really important word because commitment is what you genuinely have committed yourself to. So as an example, if you work a job, you're committed to that job. I actually really like the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, because what they say in that book is that commitment is a statement of what is. You can know what you're committed to by the results you produce. And that's a really important aspect of identity as well, is that you can know what your identity is by the behaviors you're engaging in, because identity is what you're most committed to. And what you're most committed to is reflected in your behavior. But also what you're most committed to is reflected in the future you most see for yourself. And so as a rule, most people's views of their future do not go out very far. Most people's future is basically getting through the week, getting through the weekend, maybe the month ahead, maybe it's their retirement, but that's usually not that clear. You want to think about what's the future you're most committed to, because that's actually the thing driving your identity, is the future you've fully committed yourself to. And you can know what you're committed to by the behaviors you engage in. So this then brings up a really important concept, and that's the idea that actually all behavior is driven by goals. So even you jumping on this YouTube video, you wouldn't be on this video if you didn't have the goal to do so. That goal might have been reactive. Maybe you were scrolling through YouTube and you saw this and it became a goal, therefore you clicked on it. Most goals that people have are actually reactive to their environment or to their culture. And so most people's goals are triggered by external things. For example, if I am scrolling through Facebook and all of a sudden I see something and it triggers me to go eat something, that is a goal that was triggered. But all behavior is driven by a goal. A kid doesn't go to school just to go to school. They go to school because they have a goal to go to school. Now, their goal might be actually just to please their parents, or because their parents are forcing them and so they don't want to get in trouble. And all goals can be kind of camped into one or two categories. One goal is it's approaching something you want. It's approaching a future you want. Another goal could be avoidance-based, where you're avoiding a future you don't want. That's kind of fear-based. You may eat healthy because you don't want cancer, or you may eat healthy because you want to be in elite shape. Either way, it's a goal. It's a forecast of the future that's driving your behavior. That forecast may be a future you don't want, or that forecast could be a future you do want. The point of the matter is that every behavior is driven by a goal, even you watching this video. And when you turn off the video, it's because you'll have some other goal that pulls you, whether it's to get back to work, whether it's to go home, whether it's whatever it is, all your behavior is driven by some goal. This actually brings up a great quote from Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, and he said, it is a peculiarity of man that he can only live by looking to the future. That's actually one of the big things he found while being a Holocaust survivor is that once someone actually lost a sense of their future, they lost hope in their future, then their lives became meaningless and they honestly died very shortly. So this then brings the idea that most behavior, though, is driven by short-term rewards or immediate battles. So there's that whole idea that there's the urgent and there's the important. The urgent are the things that are coming at you, like meetings, like getting the kids to school, like getting the groceries, like paying the bills. These are all immediate battles, urgent goals that require your immediate attention. They're the things that take up most people's days. People get up and go to work because they have to, not because they want to. It's an immediate battle. It's an urgent battle. And they don't have the space to see a bigger future. So that's the difference between having an important goal and having an urgent goal. Important is not urgent. Important is you creating the space so that you can visualize a much bigger future and actually do something that matters versus something that you feel like you are forced to do. Also, most human behavior is driven by short-term rewards. That's seeking dopamine hits. That could be, again, scrolling social media. It could be eating junk food. It could be consuming stimulants. It's just seeking short-term rewards. And those are the goals. Again, these are the two types of goals that drive most people's behaviors: immediate battles or short-term dopamine hits, essentially. And one huge aspect of the short-term rewards is that often those short-term rewards end up having long-term negative consequences on your future self. This then takes me to the final slide of this conversation on identity. And this is kind of the crux of it all, is that your goals are actually the thing that drive your identity, and your identity is the thing that drives your behavior. This is the simplest form of understanding it. Every behavior is driven by a goal. If I'm going to make this video, it's because I've got the goal to make it. And whatever my goal is that I'm most committed to is the thing that makes it my identity. So if I'm a student going to college and my goal is to finish my degree, then my identity is made up of the idea that I'm finishing college, and that's what's driving my behavior. And so it's really important then to actually ask yourself, what are the goals driving my behavior? And how do I see myself? Again, your identity is what you're most committed to. As people, we're driven by the future we're most committed to. We're driven by the goals we've most committed to. And as a rule, most people have not fully clarified or defined their goals. They're not even aware of their goals. Your goal in high school, as an example, might just be to fit in with your friends. Whatever your goal is, though, that's the thing driving your identity and your behavior. Like, let me give an example. Yesterday, there was a situation where my son, who plays tennis, there was a scheduling conflict. He had tennis practice, but there was also like a youth event, a church event where a lot of his friends were. And in the moment, he really just wanted to go to the youth event. That was the goal that he wanted more, which to me shows that his identity is actually more wrapped up in his friends than in tennis, which I'm not going to make a judgment on. We actually had him go to tennis. It's important to see what your goal is. What's the thing driving your behavior? What is the thing you're seeking? Because whatever it is you're most committed to, that's the thing driving your identity. That's the thing that drives your behavior. So that's really how identity works in a nutshell. If you want to transform your identity, you've got to start making bigger investments in specific areas, investments in your future self, investments in certain areas. You might read a book. You might join a group. You might actually start investing in something financially. As you make investments, that gets you committed to something new. Actually, investment is how you create a new commitment. And so if you want to upgrade your identity, you got to start investing in a specific area. And by investing, I mean putting conscious attention and effort towards a certain area that you want to improve. Financial investments also help. A lot of research on sunk cost bias and endowment effect show that if you invest financially in a certain area, you can really start to get committed and build your identity around that area. Hope that helps. Identity is the crux, but identity is also the cart. It's not the horse. The horse is your goals. The horse is what you are committed to and what you want. And that's the thing that drives your identity. And that's the thing that drives your behavior. I'm Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Down below, you can get a free Kindle copy of The Gap and the Gain. Just click the link, put your email in, and we'll send you a code so that you can get the Kindle. Please like this video. Please subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.